Oh, kill it.
I can't put numbers on it back and throw my Gatorade. Can't complain, I'm on a run. She felt betrayed, I wonder why. I stop a truck and make a play, a day parade, a cake parade. It might look like a suicide, but no, I'm back to the murder. I gotta bleed it and get my cut like this surgeon. I never need you, but when I ball out, I miss you. Forever stays here, no, I'm round, right with you.
Right, and I'm out, right, and I'm out. Foolish ass, jealous ass, niggas don't like me. Right, and I'm out, right, and I'm out. Foolish ass, jealous ass, niggas don't like me.
Slide for the re-up, I just put the pies in the Prius. And the light might see me gone, and the time might see me poppin' on the back road with my bitch. And the light they see that shot and know I got it. Can you bring this shit to go? Can we feel it alive? Can you give me, yeah? Can you give me, baby? Can you swing it over here? Bring it to the south, or I can come and get you, yeah. I can come
Some of you guys may remember that not too long ago I made a garden G-scale railway. You see, at the time, it was the best way to run my G-scale locomotives, as inside it would be a bit hard, given how big they are. And for a while, this was my central hub for G-scale. However, fall is soon approaching, which means colder weather. And while fall and winter are my favorite seasons, they're really not the best for running trains, or modeling them. So the garden railway you guys saw before is gone. But to explain this story fully, we'll have to go to before the garden railway. My great-grandfather had a thing for LGB trains, and when he passed, those trains fell into my care. Well, specifically one train, 4 bits of rolling stock, and more track than I knew what to do with. And while I don't have any pictures or videos of it, the way he ran these trains was on a shelf. He had a small workshop, the shelf itself being above the doorway, very close to the roof, so it wouldn't interact with or cause any issues with anything else. I loved this design and I loved this idea, so when he would unfortunately pass, and all of that came to my belonging, I wanted to do the same thing. And so a shelf layout was built, with basically the same premise, and the same track and the same trains, plus the trains I would get over time. However, with it being so high up, there was only so much I could do, so it didn't really get used as much as I wish it did, eventually being taken apart and used for the garden railway. Well, recently I've went back to square one, and completely redone the shelves and refitted the track, as well as added a bunch of detail that I've accumulated, and again that comes from my grandfather. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Unfortunately, the wiring for it isn't very hidden. It's powered by an LGB controller that sits on top of my TV, for now at least. I need to make a larger shelf to actually sit it on. And right above that, we can see one of the longer parts, as well as James and his freight train. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of detail here yet. I'm not really sure what I want to do with this area, but I'm sure it'll get filled up sooner or later. I would also like to add a siding if I'm able to make the room for it. Following this, we come to not only the Lionel G-scale water tower, but also a custom car that was made by my grandfather. It's not made to be G-scale, it's just something that he made. But it's something that I really enjoy, and given that this is honoring him, I figured here it would be right at home. Going past the curve, we have more from his collection. You see, he really enjoyed the circus, and because of that, he accumulated a lot of G-scale circus animals, as well as a G-scale circus caboose that I'm actually trying to repair as of now. And all 6 of those are lined up in front of the track for the trains to pass by whenever they're on this bit. The entire board is secured as you see here, with a rod that comes down from the ceiling in the middle of the board to give it the same stability as the ones on the walls. Past the animals is the Lionel G-scale Wellsworth, which eventually I'd like to either replace or at least detail. You know, put some figures on it or at least make it look a little bit more busy. And unfortunately, the long part following this is a lot like the other. There's not really a lot to it. But as you can see, there's a hole cut in the middle of the shelves in this part, as eventually I'd like to add a bridge, which is something I might have to custom make, but still a project that I plan to do. In the corner we have the windmill and a small covered tunnel, honestly just kinda to be there. And continuing down this strip we have another item from my grandfather, being a tin airplane, which just like the truck I found fitting to be right here. As of now, that's about all of the detail that I've managed to put on it. Not really as much as I'm hoping to do, but still enough to make me happy. The opportunities are endless so long as I'm able to get up there, and thankfully I have a stepladder to help with that. So now that we've talked about what's on the shelves, as I'm sure you saw earlier, James is eager to leave with this freight train, so let's go ahead and set him off. G-scale has to be one of my favorite scales. It's very large and very space consuming, but if you find the space, it's some of the most fun you can have. And this entire project was nothing but that. Really just a blast. And so is running trains on it. I know what you guys are thinking. What if the trains fall? And trust me, that's something that I'm just as worried about. I'd say what worries me the most right now are the corners. As I'm sure you saw, they kinda overhang. And eventually I'd like to put some wood that at least covers that. But with proper operation, and making sure the track is actually put together, derailments are pretty easy to avoid. I almost had one engine fall, and the entire reason was one rail joiner had become undone. So after finding that out, I replaced that section of track and went around the layout making sure everything else was connected solid. That mixed with not running the trains at full speed and, you know, kind of acting dumb with them should mean these guys are going to be alright. But just on the chance, that's the sound of me knocking on wood. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for even more train content. There's always more stuff on the way. And as always, thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So this is probably the first time I've ever bought something from LGB, and it feels kinda cheap. And I don't mean that it doesn't work. I mean, hopefully it works. We'll see here in a second. But it just doesn't have that feel, if that makes any sense. It feels like something you'd get in a children's play set, or like an RC controller. It doesn't feel like a model train controller. I believe this way is backwards and this way is forwards. There's not a switch for the actual engine, and up here are where the wire inputs go, and this is your connection to the wall. So there's that. It just feels a little bit different, I guess. I just can't really say I've ever felt something so cheap from LGB ever, but hopefully this will be a little bit different. And well, I guess if this one's a little cheaper, it's excusable. It's just a track cleaning brick. Let's go ahead and pop into it though and see what we're working with here. I need to go get some scissors. We got it. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is the LGB number 5004 track cleaning block, and this basically is a, well, honestly kind of smoother. It's definitely rough. It's gotta be because it cleans track, but it's smoother than you expect. Like when you look at this, you're probably expecting a very sandy texture. It's much more spongy, but still pretty solid. Like you can't push in on that, but it's still pretty soft. So this shouldn't damage your rail or scratch it up too bad or anything. Hopefully it will clean it though, and these tracks need it, trust me. If they weren't in storage, they were on my shelf, my grandfather's shelf, or outdoors on my old garden railway. So I probably should have got one of these a long time ago, but at least we're here now. And again, we also have the new controller, which I don't want to say is a bad controller. You know, there's nothing really wrong with it, I guess, besides the overall feel it has. But with LGB, I guess I have a quality expectation, and when you pick this up and it's so light and cheap plastic feeling, it's not what you'd expect. It's something, the Bachmann controllers have a better, more solid feel than this thing does, and that's saying something. So hopefully any of that makes sense. I'm gonna go clean the track now. Let's get to work. Here. What are we looking at? Oh yeah, this was long overdue. This is a necessity. Let's just say that. look at that. Look at that difference. That is fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have officially went over all the track, and not just the track that goes through the living room, but the yard area too. This thing is dusted. Yeah, this used to be clean. I'll put a picture or video of what it was before up, and this is what we're dealing with now. Nice. But we got clean tracks, so, you know, I'll take the second. All right, I'm going to leave this one to rinse in the sink for a little bit, and now all we have to do is plug this controller in and hopefully just run the trains and nothing else will go wrong. Fingers crossed. Fingers fucking crossed. Twist it up a little cleaner. So the red should go in the red slot and black where the blue is. Just like so. All right, there's one, and here is two. All right, now let me get that power cord. All right, and this will go in the top like so, and let's get some trains going. All right, I think for the first train, we'll do the construction train, just since that's the one I have out and ready, as you can see. And engine-wise, since sadly the cursed one has not made it yet, we will be using the Stains, which is just so conveniently parked in the siding. So let's go ahead and get him out too. Jesus Christ, that is already so much smoother. Okay, now to couple up to the consist, and let's finally get some running footage in. Alright, we've got connection. I think, let's see here. Yep, we are go. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. Oops. Alright, while our engine is filling up with water, we're gonna do something a little extra, and by that I mean we're gonna put on the old consist too, and I'm curious to see if this thing can manage not only the construction train, but the other consist that my grandfather left me, which in itself is already pretty heavy. And the construction train, if I haven't said it before, is also pretty heavy. Get on the tracks, bro. There we go. So that should be a challenge. All right, so now, ladies and gentlemen, we have two consists on the track, and once the Stains or Stans, however you pronounce it, is ready, we will see if it can pull both of them. All right, so it sounds like the Stains is about ready, so we'll go ahead and pull up the spout and get her out of the siding. All right, so this is one hell of a consist. I really don't know if he'll be able to pull all this, but we'll give it a shot. Let's see here. Slowly give him some power. No way. There is no way. We got a bit of strain, but he's doing it. And I think for some added safety, since there is quite a bit going on here, we'll add a little inspection man, just to make sure everything's gonna be going safe and solid. This might be the death of him. Yeah, I didn't think that was gonna last very long. There we go. There we go. That should be a bit more comfortable. Now that was some train running. As basically all of you all know, I've been obsessed with collecting Capsule Playrail recently, and because of that, I thought it'd be fun to take all of the tracks and all of the destinations that I've got and build one big layout out of them. So that's what I set out to do today. However, I figured it'd be a little bit daunting to do alone, so I called in the help of my junior conductor. His real name is Butters, but I like to call him Junior because that's what he is to me. So with his help, and maybe the help of his brother Tim, he's a little bit more timid, he doesn't really like the trains as much, us 2 or 3 are going to set up a large train track. Or at the very least, I'm going to set up a train track and Butters is going to, well, you'll see. Hey! I didn't really have any ideas of what I wanted the layout to contain itself, but I did know that I wanted it to have a Tidmouth Sheds, so I would start with building that, and once I had that, would build around it. Alright, we have a little Tidmouth Sheds. Nice. I decided to settle with one large oval that would encase the entire thing. Bro, how are we gonna build a set if you keep taking all of my parts? Junior conductor, what? Mr. Man! Alrighty, we have a little oval done, but there's still plenty of tracks, so I want to see if I can somehow incorporate all of that into this as well. Like I said, there was still a lot of track left over, so I set out to make more of a main line. Another loop that would run around the one that I had just built, and do whatever with the leftover track. Okay, so now we have an outer line, as well as this little, I guess yard area. This all here is the water tracks. They don't really like to work with the engines very well, so I put them over there. I'm gonna turn that into like a docks. Here we have some troublesome trucks in the yard area that I said. This is the little extension. We have Tidmouth Sheds, we have Stephanie Lady and Edward in there right now. And here is everything as it's all set up. I gotta put this one back in real quick, but yep, this is everything that we have set up. I guess all we have to do now is run some trains. There is a little pile of track that I didn't get to over here. As you can see here, there's not really a lot. It's all just like mostly miscellaneous parts, but here is the giant railroad that we have built. Fun. Now I just gotta add some little details. Alrighty, Junior is back, and as you can see here, we have the little dock set up over there. We have Cranky in the little Brendam warehouse, and I also decided to add Boulder Mountain here, as you can see next to Boko, because there's no way I'm not gonna add Boulder Mountain. All right, let's run some trains. Almost had it, buddy. Oh, I just realized he's lost his truck. You little menace! Yes, this is a reference to something in the air. Good on you if you caught it. If If you guys enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe for even more train content. There's always more stuff on the way. And hopefully you guys enjoyed not only building a large capsule play rail layout, but also meeting my junior conductor in person for the first time. He still has a bit to learn, but he'll get there soon. And as always, thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Alright. I'm ready if you are. I'll take that as you're not ready. So this is my current sorry excuse for a layout, as you can see. And I'm not gonna lie, this thing does have quite the story behind it. It was not supposed to be like this at all. It was made with plans to be Duck's branch line, but this has kind of evolved as, I don't really have to say that. Currently we have two different boards. This is a 2x4 that is attached to the bottom of this. How big is this one? 35. So we have a 35-inch by 4 feet board on the top and a 2x4 on the bottom. That has been screwed in on basically every side, and that makes the main layout as you can see. Now, being that this was going to be the Little Western or Duck's branch line, this was kind of a last-minute inclusion to save the wood that we already had. To explain, this thing was way too small for the track plan that I had initially drawn up. It was supposed to be the smallest Kato curve or radius with a single straight and a half straight on either side. And unfortunately, it was both too small and not long enough to fit that radius. There was a pretty significant overhang on the table, and about an inch came off on this side. Of course, I was kind of mad, thought I was going to have to get a whole new piece of wood here, but my fiance had the good idea to extend it, and we got the 2x4 here to kind of do just that. As you can see, it is secured in here and just different places along the board, like in the back, to make sure it all stays as level as it can, and now will serve as the castle lock. Or again, that's the plan. Something may happen that throws that completely off, so we'll see. At the very least, we have this little bridge area now that actually has a drop-off that I hope to fill with water. What you may have already noticed is what's keeping this track elevated is play rail risers. I just happened to use what was available to me, and they just so happened to be the perfect height, so they are saving the track right now. This works a little too well. You probably don't believe me, and that's understandable, but my heaviest engine, which is Molly, takes this with no problem, so they low-key kind of saved the day, and if it works, it works. Now, like I said before, this was going to be kind of like an oval shape and have the straight and half straight right here. And the reason I'm opting to use these Kato 4 7/8, I guess, half straights is because these are the same size as the Kato signals. And with any luck, there will be one placed here and over here behind the mountain, which doesn't seem too viable right now, but I'm hoping to pull this area out so there's actually accessibility and it will be more visible. Am I even visible right now? Hello? Fuck you. So these are kind of just more stand-ins until those are here and I can drill out where they'll sit, all the, extra stuff. I've never worked with Kato signals, so that'll be a fun add-on to this video. You're also probably wondering what this mess of paper and cardboard and tape in the middle is. And like I said, this was going to be the coastal area. I'll put up some behind the scenes or work in progress pictures of what it was supposed to be, and yeah, now it's this. I've kind of been bulking it out, throwing more stuff in there, so don't worry, this is not final. It will not have this exact shape, but it is kind of textured up to more resemble a rock face, and with any luck, when the plaster does go on, this wrinkled up paper will help in that process. Pretty sure you couldn't see me. Imagine Winston. Yeah, that was Winston. Winston said all of that. He said it for me. And just like over here, how I have the WAA, shout out my British users, giving you a little bit of representation. I have the signal mark here to show where that one will be placed and the other one on the back. And it's kind of been knocked over here a little bit, but a slight outline of where the track will go, and that's to guide me in this area, since the risers also have little marks, I'm kind of just laying everything out to help me as I go. And if at any point you're wondering why the mountain is made of cardboard and paper, I'm just doing my, recycling part, really. Now, the last thing I want to touch on again is the exact track layout, since, like I said, this did go through a couple changes as this has been built. Instead of being an oval, it has more of like a shoe shape. It kind of comes around here. The curve is a lot more significant on this area. I'll get better pictures to explain. And because of that, it's a bit more drastic. There are larger curves in this area, but it also hits this at a more drastic angle. So it does mean that engines like Mali or any engine that's a bit bigger will have to take this layout at a slower speed, or I'll just have to be a bit more accommodating with the controls. But at the very least, Mali does work on this, especially this part, which is what I was more worried about. So, if you've seen my customs anyway, you know I have a small engine policy without even meaning to, so this works out just fine in my opinion. And thankfully at this point nothing is permanent. As you can see, the tape is still not exactly 100% down on this board, and it won't be until the plaster arrives. I hope to make another video going through the entire process of making this mountain actually a mountain. And of course I'm still kinda in the process of extending it if I want to. Maybe it'll go more into this area, or this area will be a mine that connects into the mountain. I think I'm the most excited for this water area though, and once I have this filled up and a little barrier built, I'll hopefully get some Woodland Scenics water resin in here to do just that. This could very easily be a bridge if I found a way to build one kind of here on the sides and maybe hide the risers, but I'm thinking it might be simpler and honestly more fun to make it Castle Loch. Put the ballast where the water goes, and maybe right in front of the hill or on the top of it have that castle ruins. You can probably see where I'm going with this from this alone. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I've managed to get done in a matter of 2 or 3 days. And when the plaster comes, hopefully we'll fit that into a single day. So let's just run some trains. Alright, so really quick, let me give an explanation on the plaster cloth stuff. This is, well, exactly what the name is. It's a cloth that also has a bunch of plaster on it, and this will go on the face of this, or really the entire mountain and this area, and hopefully smooth it out a bit to make it more natural looking. You basically cut off however much you need and put it in some water, and that loosens up the plaster and helps you make whatever you're making. In this case, we are doing a mountain, and this for, I think, the 3rd time. So let me quit saying it and let's just do it. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the layout. Yeah, I know things have changed quite a bit since the last time you saw it. So initially the plan was just to do the plaster work and get the mountain and tunnel area done, and that kind of evolved into like 60% of a landscaping job. We have brown applied where the dirt is, this black paint where the water will go. The mountain is basically not done yet since none of this turf is actually glued down. I'm kind of just experimenting with what colors I'll actually want the mountain and layout to be. But at least the stone accent is done and all painted up, and I thought it'd be fun to explain not only how all of this came to be, but also share some tips that I learned for making this mountain face and just all of the do's and do nots that have come with this layout. All right, let's start with the mountain since I think this is the coolest. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I cannot stand plaster cloth, not just specifically the Woodland Scenics kind, but just as a material. It is not the best for making a mountain face because that cloth often shows through. I was talking with one of my older buddies who's more into Warhammer and stuff like that, and he recommended me this paint you see here from Rust-Oleum, this stone textured finish, and I'll throw some pictures on screen of what the mountain looked like before that. You could definitely see a lot of plaster showing through, or not a lot of the cloth showing through behind the plaster, and some areas definitely still reflect that on the mountain itself. After priming the entire thing a dark gray and then applying the stone accent, it greatly helped that though, and very much saved the not only sides, but entire top of the mountain before there was grass on top of it. The grass is also kind of an experiment to see if that helps hide any of this off texture, and on the chance it doesn't, I'll get some actual plaster and just fill those areas in, but so far that has been a huge help. Now, I'm sure you're curious about the turf itself, and if I'm honest, it's not 100% perfect, but it's definitely getting there. So far, it's mostly this color that's made by Woodland Scenics, but I did add a bit more green. This is the Earth Blend with I'm pretty sure it was another Woodland Scenics color, just a brighter green, and it has done what you see here. Again, none of this is glued, just for on the chance I do change my mind and want to, I don't know, take it up for a different color. And I think I want to add a bit more green or just liveliness to it. It kind of feels more like dead grass than anything, as well as expand it to the areas that actually need it. But again, I'm probably not going to do that until I have the actual glue to secure it down. Now, the turf itself needed a good brown or a dirt color to sit on, and the one you're seeing now is largely this Rust-Oleum satin color. Though before this, there was just a bit of the Tamiya red-brown, which you can kind of see showing through in this darker area here. Ultimately, though, that was just a bit too dark, and this ended up taking most of the layout, as you can see. You can probably see it more here, but the top of the mountain was also painted with this satin color, and this is kind of what it looks like once the turf is applied, and in my opinion, it mixes up pretty damn well. I still think this turf needs a bit more green and just different types of plants to be a bit more lively, and here you can kind of see how it helps against this plaster cloth curse that the material even is, but there's a general idea for that too. What am I doing with my hand? I've been doing this a lot, haven't I? Wax on, wax off. And of course, once I've got this area cleaned up a bit more and possibly repainted just a tad more cleanly, this will be the water area, or more specifically the lock that will be in front of the castle where Thumper is right now. Now, the play rail risers for the most part are painted in black too, though I'm not stressing that as heavily. This will again be completely ballasted off on either side, or if I change my mind, maybe a bridge will be built. Either way, they won't be too visible once the water's actually in there. And I'm thinking what I'm gonna do to actually apply the water is get some plastic and build a little barrier here along the side and just hopefully contain the resin for however long it needs to dry. Looking at the area of probably like a day. That's gonna be scary. Thankfully, however, that will be one of the last steps. Right now, I'm more in the frame of mind of getting this area filled with turf and getting everything evenly distributed with greenery. From there, I'll probably try static grass. It's not something I've ever put on a layout, so that should be a fun experiment, and then build the castle, or maybe then I'll do the water. I'm not trying to stress this out too much and just let what comes with building the layout come. This all may have happened pretty quickly, but don't let that fool you. This is not a easy process. This mountain was very much a headache. Even just painting the board was a headache, especially since I had to do it inside, and painting inside is never fun. Thankfully, however, it has all started to come together, and yeah, like I said, all I need now is some glue, and we should be on to making this thing a little bit more lively from there. And while going through my model supplies, I also found these little telephone poles, and those have been applied on either side. Really for no reason. I could have waited to do that, but I kind of just wanted to. Oh, before I forget, let's also talk about these tunnels. Now, these were way too big when I initially bought them. I didn't think I was going to use them because the tunnel mold I had built was just way too small compared to this. Thankfully, however, it has been built into this side, and currently it is a lighter gray than the rest of the mountain. Before, it was this same dark gray that you see here, and that just did not work very well in my opinion. I still need to weather it and get a little bit of a black paint here to show the steam engines have been through it, but yeah, that is the tunnels. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another layout update. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been lacking a little bit in getting footage of what exactly I've done. But there's still plenty of fun stuff I'd like to show you guys. For example, we finally have Kato signals. 2 on either side of the tunnel, to be specific, with each signal pointed directly towards the tunnel for if a train's going either direction. These pieces are phenomenal, and I promise I won't make this whole video just a review on these things. I do have to say though, so far they've been a blast and just amazing to work with, so might as well talk a bit about them. I currently run DC only, but whenever I do switch to DCC, these can be switched as well. They also have a pretty simple wiring setup, and as you'll soon see, work on a timer system. Once an engine trips the signal, it turns red, after some time it'll turn yellow, and now we're back to green again. When an engine is approaching, it will stay red. And quite funnily, since this is a timer system, you can stop an engine right after the signal and it won't stay red. That aside though, they are completely and totally a blast. Again, if you couldn't tell, I really enjoy these. We also finally have water. This is Woodland Scenic's water. That is basically a resin that dries to a clearer, hard state. My fiance actually mixed the blue the water is, and this entire section was masked off and left for about 2 days. Thankfully, after that, it did dry pretty well though. I recently started to add the wave details, but as you'll see, I kinda have to do some more. And if the water was coming, it meant the Loch had to too. And that has been built up with mixes of ballast, rocks, bushes, and most recently different types of turf. It's also probably a good time to announce that this is no longer gonna be Castle Loch. It is still a loch though. This really couldn't be Sodor. I mean, now it has modern signaling. This also admittedly doesn't really look like Castle Loch, so what is it now? Well, in my opinion, it's something a bit more fun. It's a preservation line that just so happens to be on a loch. And who exactly runs this loch? Not the fat controller, it's me, yours truly. It's honestly a simpler idea, sure it's not too deep, but it's more or less just my ideal or dream railway. And speaking of that, heads up, we'll meet the first engine to run this railway very soon. I don't know what I'll call it yet, but it's a loch, it's modern day, and for some reason, because it's mine, there's a preference towards smaller locomotives. It just is what it is. But that's pretty much all of the big stuff. There's an adorable greenhouse in the back now. The track is secured down with nails and glue in most areas. Now what? Well, you read the title, Static Grass. And yes, thankfully, I actually recorded it this time. For this, we'll use a mix of Elmer's glue and 3 parts water, with just a bit of dish soap added. I also have a Mod Podge mix that's made the exact same way for when this runs out. And tonight we have 2 different types of static grass that are both the same color. They are different sizes though, that being 2mm and 4mm. And of course, a cheap, boring old applicator that
is again cheap. It was like 30 bucks on eBay. Hopefully it does well though, so let's add the grass. What I did was take the glue and spread it out over larger areas, then do the grass thing and just rinse and repeat until I ran out. And when I ran out, which was sooner than expected, reused what didn't stick by using a towel, as well as my vacuum. And what you basically do is take the towel, put it on the end of your vacuum, and basically the towel will catch the grass instead of just pulling it up. Then it can be reused, and I did this maybe once or twice. You'll see all this in the time-lapse though. That's enough talking. Let's just watch it happen. And like I said, sadly, I did run out of grass. But we did make it pretty far here. And though right now it's all very uniform, soon I'll get some varying colors and hopefully blend most of this out. Most of the mountain, left side, and house area are pretty much complete, at least with the first layer. Now I just need to buy some more to finish off what I couldn't. And this probably isn't a good idea since I still have more static grass to do, but I also added a few trees. Yeah, this will probably be a pain later, but they look good now. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where we are right now. We have a new signaling system. We're finally starting with the static grass. The water has been added. Thankfully, this all is really taking shape pretty quickly. But again, this isn't something I'm trying to rush. I really want this to be a sort of passion project and just whatever I want it to be. And so far, it's been just that. And maybe a little bit of a headache too, just on the side. But hopefully I'll have even more updates for you guys soon. And even more importantly, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video too. On the chance you did, be sure to like and subscribe for even more train content. There's always more stuff on the way. And really quick, as always, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my patrons. Thank you guys for making videos like this possible. Alright, now I gotta get more static grass. God damn, it's never easy. It's always fun though.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.